Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Bruised. Bruised is an American sports drama that tells the story of a former UFC fighter named Jackie Justice, who was dropped out of fighting after suffering a bad loss that ended her undefeated streak. Over the next 4 years, she finds herself living a mundane life as a cleaner and drinking alcohol to cope with her circumstances. Things start to turn around when Jackie participates in an illegal fight that she wins and is recruited by a local promoter for Invicta FC. A title match is then set between Jackie and the reigning champion, and so she trains to prepare for the occasion while also sorting out unexpected developments in her personal life at the same time. So this is one of those types of sports movies that isn't completely fixated on the sport itself. In fact, I think there's only one major MMA scene in the whole movie. Normally I would say that's a good thing because it allows for more character development, but it's not pulled off all that well. There's lots of moving parts going from one character to the next, a little too many in my opinion. Some are intriguing and even riveting, but at other times it's annoying and adds nothing to the main plot at hand, and sometimes even takes away from it. Halle Berry's performance as Jackie definitely stole the show as far as characters are concerned. You can tell that her character carries a lot of anger, fear, and all sorts of other negative emotions in her daily life, as no matter what she does, she's haunted by the loss that effectively ended her career. Jackie finds herself dealing with a variety of issues ranging from alcoholism to her abusive boyfriend to her drug-addicted mother, and seeing her come face to face with these things gives a sense of grit and determination to her character, which makes it easy to root for her. She is a fighter in every sense of the word. This is especially evident once she starts to mature upon the sudden arrival of her long-lost son, whose name is Manny. The boy deals with an ongoing trauma that prevents him from being able to speak and properly bond with others. I like the relationship that builds between the two. Even though Jackie can't initially connect with him due to being separated for so many years, Manny is carrying around his baggage just like Jackie is, so the two are able to bond with each other as they work through their trauma together. Now, while there are things that I do like about Jackie, I'd say there are an equal number of things about her that I dislike as well. As I mentioned earlier, there are too many dramatic angles surrounding her character that drags down the quality of the main narrative. For example, I hated the way alcoholism was portrayed in this movie. This is the first trait we see about Jackie as she's drinking from a spray bottle, which does give a good clue as to how she's feeling right from the get-go, but then she has an argument with her boyfriend Desi. She claims that Desi is a worthless drunk holding her back, which we later find out is indeed the case, but it's quite hypocritical considering that she's doing the exact same thing as him. In fact, we see her do it first. This was off-putting and made it pretty difficult for me to like her character in the beginning. Then all of a sudden she has an emotional epiphany and decides that she's gonna quit drinking right then and there and proceeds to dump all her liquor down the sink, as if it's that easy to quit drinking. I cannot stand it when movies trivialize addictions like this. As someone who has a relative with an ongoing addiction problem, it's really annoying to see how much Jackie struggles with everything else around her, but seems to have no problem with ditching booze. Another thing that's weird about her character is how she brings up her being sexually assaulted in the past by an uncle and her mother's boyfriends during an argument with her mom. I'm not opposed to this angle being in the story, but it comes out of nowhere and it's forgotten about as quickly as it's brought up. There's a lot of tense situations like this where Jackie is doing little more than arguing with people, and we find out random bits about her personal life during these arguments. This could be a good way to learn more about Jackie, but they pass too quickly to have any meaningful effect on the audience and the story at large regarding the upcoming fight. And this is where the MMA aspect comes into play, which I think is the best part about the movie. Usually I like it when sports-based movies spend more time on the character building stuff than on the actual sport, because to me anyway, sports by themselves aren't really that interesting. But here, I consistently found myself being blown away. There's plenty of training montages that any diehard fan of Rocky movies will appreciate. Jackie always seems to be drenched in sweat as she performs her workouts, with cuts back and forth between the variety of exercises she does. It can be excessive, but still shows the audience how increasingly resolute she becomes. It's not just the usual montages either. Jackie trains at the gym on a regular basis and even watches videos of her opponent Lucia Chavez to study how she fights. Slowly but surely she becomes less of a shadow of her former self, and this made me want to root for her even more. And the actual fight, when it does happen, man is it ever good. I would say that the choreography was excellent, but it honestly felt like I was watching a real MMA match, complete with creative camera angles, the energy of the crowd, and on-the-fly commentary hyping up the action. You can tell that this scene is where they spent the most energy in the whole movie. Halle Berry would definitely have spent a long time studying martial arts to make sure she was believable in the role, and her own training pays off brilliantly here. I really wish that they would have spent the same amount of energy fleshing out the other characters that helped Jackie in getting to this point. There's one guy named Pops who's just there. He doesn't have anything interesting to say or do other than give the occasional pep talk. Budokan, on the other hand, was much more involved in Jackie's training and personal life. I like how she's a teacher to Jackie, but isn't too strict and overbearing. She's been through her own fair share of trials and troubles, and I like to think that she sees a bit of herself in Jackie. Unfortunately, and I have to give a little spoiler on this, there's a certain point in the movie where Jackie and Budokan become romantically involved with each other. Like with the sexual assault thing from earlier, it comes out of nowhere without any prior setup, which makes it worse for Budokan because there was no hint of a romance budding, yet she suddenly wants a relationship as soon as they have sex. Then she acts emotionally devastated to an unrealistic degree when Jackie tells her that she can't have a partner at this time, to the point that she gets out of bed, tears streaming down her face, and grabs a bottle of liquor on her way out. This was such an incredibly cheap way to force an emotional reaction from the audience. It doesn't seem like the filmmakers fully understood how to properly gauge the movie's drama, which is the most important thing to get correct in a drama. Jackie goes through a ton of events and seemingly isn't fazed by most of them, like when her son is harassed by her boyfriend, but somehow a random insult from a promoter is what causes a panic attack. There's many other parts of the drama I'd like to talk about, but I'd be here all day if I mentioned all of them, and contrary to how I may sound, I don't think all of it is bad. There's some genuinely touching moments that do occur between Jackie and her son Manny, and I'm glad that she never goes crawling back to Desi. But for every good moment that occurs in this movie, there's always another one that bogs it down in tedium, either being annoying or confusing, and oftentimes both. I think that's what contributed to its lengthy runtime, and I feel if the movie cut back on a lot of this filler, the story would have fared much better. Overall, Bruised is a bit of a mixed bag. Halle Berry put in a great performance, especially with this being her directorial debut, and the MMA stuff is great, but there's a lot of poorly developed drama and supporting characters that one has to sift through in order to get to it. If you enjoy sports dramas and are looking for one with mixed martial arts involved combined with a redemption story, you may like this one to a certain degree, but don't be surprised if you don't enjoy all of it. I found myself equally entertained and irritated while watching it, with the sports elements being fantastic and the character ones not so much. If it took some time to refine or reduce some of its drama just a little bit, I think it would have the perfect balance needed to do Jackie's character justice. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Bruised. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American holiday rom-com, A Castle for Christmas. Bye bye!